In your Bible this morning, open up to Psalm 119. We're going to continue our glorious journey through this wonderful psalm. It's such a joyful read, this psalm. I've really been enjoying it. Psalm 119, we're actually in the fifth paragraph, the fifth stanza this morning, picking up on where Kelly left it last time. Psalm 119, we're going to be reading this morning from verses 33 to 40. Teach me, O Lord, the way of your statutes, and I will keep it to the end. Give me understanding, that I may keep your law and observe it with my whole heart. Lead me in the path of your commandments, for I delight in it. Incline my heart to your testimonies, and not to selfish gain. Turn my eyes from looking at worthless things, and give me life in your ways. Confirm to your servant your promise, that you may be feared. Turn away the reproach that I dread, for your rules are good. Behold, I long for your precepts. In your righteousness, give me life. Let's come to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you so much for this gift that you've given to the church. This magnificent psalm, this amazing anthem of praise to you and to your word. Father, I pray that it would encourage us this morning. Lord, I pray that you would use your word, use your spirit in our hearts this morning. Guide us in your truth. Teach us and encourage us, Father. Convict us. Challenge us. Show us, Lord, where we need to grow to please you more. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thought for you, a question for you this morning as we begin. Why do we as humans cry? Have you thought about that before? A bit of a strange question. Why do we as human beings, why do we cry? If you think about it, it's a bit strange, right? A hard thing happens to you or you feel pain and suddenly you have a waterfall in your eyes. Why is that? Why has God made us this way? What causes us to cry? What brings us to that point where we have tears rolling down our cheeks? It's quite interesting. There are actually three different types of tears. We have basal tears. That's the water that's in your eye right now. Just keeping it lubricated, helping it work, making it do all the things that God made it to do. Those tears are always there. Then you have these things called reflexive tears. Right? A bug flies into your eye. Or a piece of dust gets caught inside there. And your body's natural reaction to that is to bring out tears. Cleans out your eye, gets rid of the blockage, makes it function properly again. The third different category of tears is the ones that we all know, right? The emotional tears. Emotional tears. It's a very curious thing, actually. It's a physical response to a pain in the soul. Isn't that amazing how God's made us? Our physical natures and our spiritual natures so connected. It's a physical response to a problem of the heart or an issue in your soul. Emotional tears. Why? What causes them? What is the cause of these tears? I think these tears come when we reach a point when we realize that we are powerless to change something. Isn't that true? You reach a point in your life where you realize, I'm powerless to change this. The next step is just tears that come to your eyes, right? Whatever it might be, the death of a loved one, you can't change that. There's nothing you can do to change that situation. The natural response is to cry. How about hurtful words that you've heard? Hurtful words that you've received and you can no longer unwind, you can no longer rewind time and take those words back. Or a situation or a circumstance that you can't change. A relationship that just won't change the way that you want it to. Tears often come when we finally come to this realization, I can't change this. There's nothing I can do about this. You come to a low point, a position of humility. You come to an acknowledgement that we need something outside of ourselves. It's a low, low point. And I believe that this is exactly where the psalmist is as he writes these verses here in Psalm 119. I believe this is exactly where he is. If you remember last time when Kelly brought us Psalm 119, verse 25 to 32, the psalmist said things like this. Look at verse 25. My soul clings to the dust. Give me life according to your word. That's a low point, isn't it? Your soul clinging to the very ground, the dust. Look at verse 28. My soul melts away for sorrow. Strengthen me according to your word. Whatever it was, we don't know. The psalmist hit a low point. The psalmist reached this realization. I need something. I need someone. I need God. It's a bigger problem that I can actually solve in my own strength, with my own power. And now, just following that paragraph, verse 33 to verse 40, we see really these series of prayers. It's a series of prayers. If you skim your eyes over it, look what it says. Teach me. Give me understanding. Lead me. Incline my heart. Turn my eyes. Confirm to your servant. Turn away the reproach I dread. Verse 40, give me life. This is the prayers, the petitions, the requests of someone who realizes they need God. They need help. They've been brought to that position of humility. It's as if the psalmist is a student in this text here this morning. He just says, teach me. I need to learn. I need to grow. Just teach me. Help me. Lead me. These series of prayers this morning, we're going to group into three. And we're going to see this morning three attitudes of the heart that you must embrace for a life of joy in the Lord. Three attitudes of your heart that you must embrace, you must hold tight for a life of joy in the Lord. And our first attitude of the heart is this: depend upon the Lord. Verses 33 to 35. Depend upon the Lord. If you look at those three verses, you can really just see the psalmist is saying, I depend on you, God. Teach me. Verse 34. Give me understanding. Verse 35. Lead me. You can just sense the psalmist depending on, leaning on the Lord. Look at verse 33. Teach me, O Lord, the way of your statutes, and I will keep it to the end. It's as if the psalmist is a student here. He says, Lord, I need to know the way of your statutes. I need you to teach me. I'm your student. I want to be underneath you. I need to receive from you wisdom. This is a prayer of a transformed heart. This is a prayer of someone who knows the Lord, someone who's been walking with the Lord, someone who recognizes, Lord, I need you. I need your help. I need to walk in the way of your statutes. I love this idea of walking. We see it often in this psalm. The psalmist says here, teach me, O Lord, the way, the pathway of your statutes. It's a reminder for us, isn't it? The way of the Lord we must walk in. It's not just a once-off thing. It's not just a thing you check off on Sunday morning or in your devotion in the morning. It's a lifestyle. It's a walking in the way of the Lord. Right living, right actions, right things throughout the day depend on this, your understanding of the Lord. It begins with God's truth. That's why the psalmist says, teach me, Lord, I want to receive from you so that I can walk in your statutes and keep it to the end. Some translations say that I may always keep it. Isn't it amazing how true it is that as you get older, you begin to value rules and guidelines more, don't you? You have young people who are arrogant, proud, think they know everything, want to do things their own way. You look at people who have been around for a long time and you see humility, don't you? You see a respect of guidelines and instructions and rules and principles and standards and God's word. Why is that? Strange, isn't it? I think it's the older that you get, the more years that you have behind you, the more clearly you see the consequences, don't you? You see the consequences of your actions. You see this action led to this. This choice led to this. And you gain wisdom. You gain insight. Well, the psalmist here this morning is saying this: Lord, I'm done. I'm done with living my own way. I'm done with making my own choices. I'm done living life the way I think it's meant to be lived. The psalmist has come to this point where he says, Lord, just teach me. It's like that old person who's been through life and recognizes the value, the importance of God's word and says, Lord, teach me. I am your humble student. I want to learn from you. Teach me. Have you reached this morning the end of your wisdom? Are there still little pockets of wisdom that you're keeping around, principles that you live by, things that you think are right, things that you hold close to your heart? The Lord's calling you this morning to let those go. Let God's word guide you in all of your life. Let God's principles, God's words, be the things that you live by, not your own understanding and your own wisdom. Sometimes it's an amazing divine mercy when God humbles you and he brings you into that valley of difficulty or suffering where you realize, I haven't got this. I haven't got control of this situation. I need you, Lord, to teach me. You can just sense this dependence the psalmist has, this dependence on the Lord. It goes on in verse 34. He says here, give me understanding that I may keep your law and observe it with my whole heart. Again, following this idea of dependence. Lord, I need you. Give me this understanding that I may keep your law and observe it with my whole heart. I love the progression here in verse 34. There's kind of a progression. Give me understanding. Help me to know your word, that I may therefore obey it and keep it. And not only obey it and keep it with a dry and must-do attitude, but look at that, verse 34, observe it with my whole heart. There's a progression there. How can you live a victorious Christian life? Overcoming temptation, overcoming the snares and the sins and the things that drag us down. It begins with this, understanding God's word. Psalmist says, give me understanding. I don't just want to listen to it or read it or hear about it. I want to understand it, to know it, to comprehend it, to put it into action. I love the sequence here. I think if you look at ourselves today, we often focus on the heart, don't we? We want the feelings. We want the good emotions. We want the happy emotions and the nice fuzzy feelings, don't we? And we bypass the rest of what God wants for us. The psalmist flips that round and he says, first of all, Lord, give me understanding. Help me to know it. Help me to obey it, that I may keep your law. And then thirdly here, observe it with my whole heart. It's as if it begins with reading, then it goes into your head, it sinks in, it goes down to your heart, and you have this warmth, this joy in obeying the Lord. But that's the sequence, right? You can't reverse it and say, I need the emotions, I need the happy feelings, I need to feel like doing this. No, we have to. It begins with the head, begins with understanding God's word. Romans 12 verse 2 says this, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Don't be transformed. Be renewed. How? By the renewal of your mind. We must love God from the heart, for sure. But it doesn't start there. It begins with an understanding and depending on God's word. Depend upon the Lord for understanding. That's what verse 34 says. Verse 35, lead me, Lord. Lead me in the path of your commandments, for I delight in it. Again, just a sense of dependence. Lord, I depend on you. Lead me. Take me there. Help me. I depend on you. Lead me. Remember Saul in Acts 9? Walking down the Damascus road, the Lord appears to him in a blazing bright light. He's blinded. Saul, why are you persecuting me? Why are you persecuting my church? And Saul goes from this arrogant, proud, insolent persecutor of the church to one of the most humble saints in Christian history, doesn't he? The Lord blinds him. Acts 9 verse 8 says this, Saul rose from the ground, and although his eyes were opened, he saw nothing. So they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And for 3 days he was without sight and neither ate nor drank. The Apostle Paul, mighty Apostle Paul, great Saul, great persecutor of the church, now holds on to friends around him and says, lead me. I can't see. I've got things over my eyes. My eyesight's gone. There's this humility that the psalmist is talking about here. Lead me, Lord. I can't see with my own eyes. I can't live with my own wisdom and understanding. He says here, lead me, Lord, in the path of your commandments, for I delight in it. What a glorious reminder here that truth must go deeper than the head, mustn't it? Truth mustn't just sit inside your head. The things you learn on a Sunday, the things you learn in your quiet times and your devotions mustn't just sit here. It must filter down into your heart. You must live it. You must delight in it. Lead me, the psalmist says here, in the pathway of your commandments, for I delight in it. I find great joy in it. Depend upon the Lord. That's our first attitude of the heart. Here's the problem, though. There's a problem. It's easy to say it, right? Depend upon the Lord. Trust in Him. Lean on Him. Easy to say, right? But here's the problem. We don't enjoy depending on other people, do we? Our hearts are naturally proud. We are naturally self-sufficient, self-sustaining. We naturally live lives by our own rules, don't we? We don't want to depend on other people. Much less, we don't want to depend upon the Lord for all things. But this is God's design in this life. He's designed us to live and to depend and to walk in Him. To walk leaning on Him. He's designed this life so that we can't live in our own wisdom. We can't live with our own understanding. We walk forward in weakness and in dependence on Him. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Was the Apostle Paul. Love that. My power, the Lord says, is perfected in your struggle, in your weakness. As you walk forward in frailty, the Lord says, my power is perfected in that. We need to walk forward to live lives depending on the Lord. No use fighting against that. This is the way that the Lord has designed it. Depend on Him in all spheres of your life. In every tough situation you are facing, depend on Him. A tough friend, a tough work colleague, a tough supervisor, a tough boss at your work, a difficult child in your home. Depend on Him. Ask the Lord, like the psalmist said, teach me, Lord. Lead me in this. Give me understanding from your word. This brings glory to the Lord when we do this, when we lean on Him for understanding. Ouch. I don't know about you, but that was painful. And it's as if the psalmist notches up the pain level in the next two verses here. The first attitude of the heart here, the psalmist has told us, depend upon the Lord. Verses 36 to 37, the next attitude of the heart that we must embrace is this: Die to self. Die to yourself. These two verses we can couple together and say, the psalmist is pointing us away from ourselves. The psalmist is saying, die to those things that you once lived for, that you once loved. Die to yourself. Look at verse 36. Incline my heart to your testimonies and not to selfish gain. Psalmist says here, Lord, I need you to bend my life towards you. Incline me, angle me, guide me, steer me, not to selfish gain that I so easily cling to, but Lord, incline my heart to your testimonies. This is a prayer that you can use every morning when you wake up, when you come to the Lord in His scripture, when you pray to Him. Pray this, incline my heart. John Piper has this wonderful acronym, IOUs. You might have heard of it before. IOUS. That it's helpful for him to step through every morning as he reads scripture. And it begins here, Psalm 119, verse 36. The I for IOUS is this: incline my heart to you and not to prideful gain. The O is this, Psalm 119, verse 18. Open my eyes to behold wondrous things in your law. The U in that acronym is this, Psalm 86, verse 11. Unite my heart to fear your name. The S in the acronym, Psalm 90, verse 14. Satisfy me with your steadfast love. Good little tool, isn't it? As you come to the Lord in Scripture, don't just come with a casual attitude, but pray this. Pray the IOUS. Begins here. Lord, incline my heart. Incline my heart to your testimonies and not to what I so naturally gravitate toward, selfish gain. Unless we are purposeful in our lives and in our decision making, we will gravitate towards this, selfish gain. Selfish gain, our own selfish motives and fleshly desires. This selfish gain that has caused so much chaos and destruction throughout world history, even in Scripture. I'm just going to run through a few. Look at what selfish gain has done. Numbers 22, Balaam sold out God's people and his own soul because he coveted. 1 Kings 21, Ahab murdered because he coveted. He had this selfish gain. 2 Samuel 11, verse 2, David committed adultery and murder because he coveted. Joshua 7:21, Achan stole and brought Israel to defeat because he coveted. Selfish gain. John 12:6, Judas stole from his fellow disciples and betrayed Jesus because he coveted. Acts 5, verse 1, Ananias lied to the Holy Spirit because he coveted. That's the natural tendency of our heart. That's where we naturally slide towards if we do nothing. Selfish gain. Unless we call on the Lord, unless we ask Him for help, unless we depend on Him, unless we die to ourselves, our hearts will be geared for this selfish gain. What's the opposite here in verse 36? What's the opposite of selfish gain? God's word, right? Psalmist says, incline my heart not towards this selfish gain that I so easily follow, but rather towards your word, towards your testimonies, your principles. It's the first step here of dying to yourself. Don't hold on to that selfish gain, the selfish, sin-centered, fleshly desires that we all have. Ask the Lord to incline your heart towards His testimonies. Verse 37, still under this category of dying to self. Verse 37, turn my eyes from looking at worthless things and give me life in your ways. That's a hard one. We are living in a society that stares at worthless things every single day. There's an endless ocean of distraction and worthless things to stare at around us, isn't there? Psalmist says here, Lord, I need you. Help me to die to myself. Turn my eyes away from these things. Turn my eyes away from looking at worthless things. And the implication here is worthless things bring death. Look at the next line. And give me life in your ways. Staring at worthless things brings death. The psalmist says here, I want life in your ways. I want life. Lord, help me to die to myself that loves staring at these worthless things. Lord, give me life. Give me a new heart in your word, in your ways. Romans 1, verse 21, fascinating parallel here. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him. But they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images. For images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. This is not a new problem, is it? It's been around as long as the human race has existed. We love looking at images, things, idols, things that please our eyes and our flesh. We love staring at worthless things. Worthless things that don't last. Worthless things that do no good. Things that help no one. Things that distract us from truly worthy things. Things that can be easily addictive. Things that normalize worldliness. Things that make eternal realities seem unimportant. Those are the things that we love staring at. The psalmist says here, turn my eyes, Lord, away from them. I don't want to look at those things anymore. The psalmist has this realization, this understanding that there is a very close connection between what you look at with your eyes and what your heart follows after. Isn't that true? Be careful, little eyes, what you see, right? Very close connection to what you see, to what you are staring at, to what goes in through your eyes, and to what your heart loves and aches for. Turn my eyes, Lord, away from looking at worthless things. I want life in your ways. These two verses here, 36 and 37, the psalmist is really saying to the Lord, help me, Lord, to die to myself. And when we say those words, die to self, it doesn't mean a kind of a complete death, right? We're not talking about you turning into some kind of jelly that has no desires, no feelings, no aspirations, no nothing, right? What we mean when we say die to yourself is die to the aspects of your life that don't conform to God's word. God's not killing all passion. He's not killing all desire. He's not killing every love in your life. He's killing the selfish ones, the ones that are centered on sin, the ones that if you follow them will bring you down to eternal damnation. Those are the ones that you must die to. We need stronger desires, stronger passions, right, that long for the Lord, that long to please Him, that long to obey Him, that long to walk in His ways. Don't die to those, right? Die to the things of the flesh that will bring you down. We must believe that there is greater, longer lasting, more fulfilling, more satisfying joy in following God and His ways than serving yourself. You have to believe that in order to die to yourself. If you believe that there is greater joy in not clinging on to the sin that you're holding on to, you'll let it go. You'll die to yourself. But if you believe there's greater joy, greater excitement and passion and longer lasting happiness in these things that bring us death, you're going to find it very, very hard to die to yourself. Colossians 3 verse 5. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these, the wrath of God is coming. In these you too once walked when you were living in them, but now you must put them all away. Anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. Colossians there says, put to death the things that will bring you down to death. Put them to death. Don't walk in them anymore. Be like the psalmist here that says, Lord, incline my heart. Turn me towards your testimonies. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Give me life in your ways. 3 attitudes of the heart that you must embrace for a life of joy in the Lord. Depend upon him. Die to yourself. Thirdly here, dedicate yourself to God's word. Verses 38 to 40. Dedicate yourself to God's word. Look at verse 38. Confirm to your servant your promise, that you may be feared. The psalmist is really saying here, Lord, make me sure of your word. I want to be sure. Confirm it to me. Confirm your promise to me. Establish your word. Does God's word change? Doesn't, right? It's immovable, unchangeable. You can picture a mosquito and a high-speed train, right? When a collision happens there, who moves who? Mosquito doesn't move the train, right? The train knocks the mosquito out the way. Why? It has weight, authority, right? That's what God's word is to us. When the psalmist says here, confirm to your servant your promise, he's not asking for the Lord to show some kind of miraculous sign or to change the word in any way so it matches up with our beliefs. No, he's saying, Lord, make me more sure of what I know is very sure already. Isaiah 40 verse 8. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. This is a psalmist just praying, Lord, establish your word. Make me sure of it. Help me to stand on it and know that it is sure. A right understanding of the word, God's word, brings with it a right fear of God. That's why he says here, confirm to me your word, your promise, that you may be feared. This fear we know is what? The beginning of wisdom, right? Fear the Lord. Fear his word. It's the beginning, the very first step in wisdom. Depend upon the Lord. Dedicate yourself to God's word. Verse 39, turn away the reproach that I dread, for your rules are good. And again, I wish we had more background on what's happening to the psalmist here, but we don't. We can just make good, accurate guesses on what we read here in the Psalms. But when the psalmist says here, Lord, turn away the reproach that I dread, you can be sure that there is reproach that he is feeling, right? Some kind of backlash for his belief. Some kind of mocking, insult for his faith in the Lord. Some kind of difficulty or trial that might cause him to doubt the accuracy and the goodness of God's word. He says here, Lord, turn away this reproach that I'm feeling, that I dread. Why? For your rules are good. He goes back to his foundation. Hebrews 13:12. So Jesus also suffered outside the gate in order to sanctify the people through his own blood. Therefore, let us go to him outside the camp and bear the reproach he endured. It's just a truism of Christianity. Jesus, Paul, the apostles, every believer at some point will face opposition for your beliefs. You won't be applauded for your faith in Christ by the world. They're not going to cheer you on. They're not going to encourage you in your beliefs about Christ. Instead, you're going to face backlash, difficulty, opposition to your faith in Christ. Psalmist says here, Lord, I don't want to lose sight of your word. I don't want to change my understanding or my beliefs in your word. Your rules are good. Your testimonies, your precepts, they are good. Keep that in your pocket for the next trial and challenge that you face. Don't be swayed, tempted to move off God's word and follow your own heart. Be like the psalmist here. He says, Lord, your rules are good. Verse 40, behold, I long for your precepts. In your righteousness, give me life. I love this. It's kind of, we crack the psalmist's heart open and we just see inside. What's burning on the inside? What's ticking? Where's the passion coming from? He says here, behold, I long for your precepts. In your righteousness, give me life. And there's this earnestness, this great desire, this passion, this love, this white-hot burning fire that says, Lord, I long for you. I desire you. I long for your word. In your righteousness, give me life. There is life, true life, when we follow God's word, His design for life. There is life to the full. There is fullness of joy when we follow God's word and His precepts. As New Testament believers, we have the fullness of this kind of hitting us in the full sense. We have new life through Jesus Christ, don't we? When we follow God's word, when we follow the gospel, we have new life. John 7, verse 37, Jesus says this, on the last day of the feast, the great day, Jesus stood up and cried out, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. If you believe in Christ, if you turn from your sins, the Lord says He will give you the gift of the Holy Spirit, this river of life welling up inside your heart. A new life, a new heart, new passions, new desires that come when you follow God's word, that come when you cling to His commandments and His precepts. New life that comes when you follow and walk in His pathways. 3 attitudes of the heart that I pray that you would hold on to today for a life of joy in the Lord. Depend on Him, even when it's hard. Lean on Him, depend on Him. Die to yourself. All those things that bring you away from the Lord and away from His scripture, die to those passions and desires. And thirdly, like a safeguard to keep you going forward, dedicate yourself to God's word. It'll keep you going straight. It'll hold you firm to the end. We spoke about tears at the beginning. Remember those strange things that sometimes appear in your eyes for seemingly bizarre reasons? Tears, this visible expression of sorrow, and this indication that you have reached the limit of your own strength and ability. Well, the good news is that those tears of sorrow have an expiration date, don't they? They're only valid for this lifetime. They won't last forever. For those who have treasured Christ, for those who have their sins forgiven, their guilt washed away, Psalm 30 verse 5 says this, weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes in the morning. What a gift. For those who have depended upon the Lord, for those who have died to themselves, dedicated themselves to walking in God's word, look at this promise in Isaiah 25 verse 8. He will swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces, and the reproach of His people He will take away from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. What a glorious promise. In this valley of difficulty that we're in right now, look up. Look to the Lord. Depend on Him. Walk in His pathway, because we know one day the Lord will swallow up death. He will wipe away all the tears that we have running down our cheeks. The Lord has spoken. Proverbs 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord. Turn away from evil. It'll be healing to your flesh. Amen. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this encouragement from your word this morning. Lord, our hearts are so prone to wander in the wrong way, so prone to live in our own understanding. Lord Jesus, I pray that through your Spirit you would enable us to walk this way, to walk in humble dependence on you. I pray that these sequence of prayers that the psalmist has prayed here this morning would be our prayers too. Lord, we need you in every sphere of our lives, in every part, every aspect, every decision, every day. Lord, we depend on you. We trust in you. Father, help us to walk more and more in obedience to your word. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, in light of the passage that we've just been through, let's stand together as we ask God to take the way we view our lives, the world, the things that we prioritize and seek after, and realign it with His will for our lives and what will bring us true joy. Let's sing, Be Thou My Vision. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Lord, be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best, Lord, by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Oh God, be my everything, be my delight. Be Jesus my glory, my soul satisfied. Riches I heed not, no man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only, but first in my heart. I, King of heaven, my treasure thou art. Oh God, be my everything, be my delight. Be Jesus my glory, my soul satisfied. Oh God, be my everything, be my delight. Be Jesus my glory, my soul satisfied. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, O bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all. Amen. Well, enjoy the fellowship now.